I can't even do it.
All right, I am both chair for this meeting and tech support. So if I get up and run over, that's why. Okay, let's get started. Good evening. It's Thursday, January 29th, 26. It's about 6:07 p.m. This is a meeting of the Town Council Bylaws and Ordinances Committee. I will first call roll. Hillary Ormond here. Eric Tunham.
Here.
Mike Rogers.
Here.
Heather Russell. Jen Zonis. Kim Norton. Here. Maria Naughton. Here. Christina Ross. Okay, so we have 5, so we have a quorum. Are there anybody from the audience who would like to speak? Any public comments?
I just had a minor comment.
Do you mind coming up to the
microphone?
Yes.
You can't hear me from there?
The public can't hear you.
Do you need a copy of this?
Don't forget to turn
I
it
have
on.
this.
Just press that button.
Which one?
The
The one that
the
says
one-
push?
The one that
yes.
says push.
Okay, how's that? Are we okay?
Actually, it needs to turn green. So hold on that button until the light turns green.
You have to press it really hard. It's to
There
see
you go.
Okay.
Nice.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lars Anderson. I live at 351 Springwater Lane. I grew up in New Canaan for what it's worth, but whatever. I don't really have any formal comments. I mean, you've heard all the presentations, you've heard all the pros and cons for and against. But I was a little moved today because a friend of mine just had surgery and I went to visit her and I told her that this was going on. She said, "Oh, thank God." And then she said, "Why is New Canaan?" And I'm not trying to be negative, but why is New Canaan like the last to, make any comprehensive or, forward movement and in items like this, in areas like this? All the other towns around us have done it. And I know that's not a reason, but I think it's a compelling argument. And everybody that I've spoken to in town about this, because I've been pretty vocal, is in favor, whether they've shown up here or not, or written emails or responded to op-ed pieces in the paper. So I think there's a lot of positive movement towards some sort of restriction or ban, and I hope looking forward to seeing what you came up with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again,
Thanks, Lars.
Do you guys want a copy of this to follow along with us as we go? Yes, you may approach the bench.
Overruled.
Hold on one second. Okay, so just a little bit of history that I'll keep pretty short for our newest members. This is a draft ordinance that would restrict the use of gas-powered leaf blowers during the summer months, and we'll go through section by section for edits or, recommendations, anything like that. The prior Bylaws and Ordinances Committee, of which the 4 of us were members, right? Eric, Maria, Kim, Christina was a member, took a first crack at a potential draft. And the way this works is that it has to pass through our committee and be in a form that we feel comfortable to propose to the full town council once we have a good working draft that we think we can get behind. If we get that far, we might decide to hold off or we'll go forward. So I've circulated to the committee a copy of the draft ordinance with edits from our last meeting. And if there's anything I missed, please let me know. I figure, like I said, I thought we would just go through section by section. Does anybody want to say anything before we get started? No? Okay. So section 1 is the declaration of policy. I don't think we had any edits to this. Does anyone have any comments? No? Okay. Seeing none, we go to section 2, definitions. We define what a leaf blower is. then we go on to define, gas powered leaf blower, electric leaf blower. Summer season, you can see there's an edit in there. It's defined instead of hard dates. It's defined as the period from Memorial Day to Labor Day each year. Noise ordinance refers to the town's existing regulations on noise levels. And I just added a citation to the specific part of the code where that noise ordinance appears. And permitted period is defined as the period from the day after Labor Day to the day before Memorial Day the following year. Any questions, comments, edits on the definition section?
Do we want to include, oh, sorry, do I have to wait for you to call?
No. Go ahead.
A decibel level somewhere, or would that's under the noise ordinance? Like, do we need to include a number?
I don't know that we do because we're referring to the noise ordinance, but we could.
I'm assuming, I know I read it once. I don't have it in front of me and haven't read it recently, but I believe the noise ordinance does have decibel levels, but don't hold me to that. I'd have to
No.
double check.
But
I don't think we need it. I don't think we need it here.
In follow-up to Eric's comment, I believe the noise ordinance definitely has a decibel level in it.
Okay. I have one question here. Hillary, we have a defined term of permitted period, but I don't think that defined term is used throughout the rest of this document.
Oh.
So I'm wondering why we're defining that.
Let me see.
What wasn't defined?
Permitted
Oh, you know what?
period.
That might have been in the last draft, so that's a good catch.
Permitted period.
Yeah.
Is not included in the ordinance.
Electrician, let me just make sure. Yep, I think you're right, Eric. So we can take out that
Okay.
that definition. Thank you. Okay, are we ready to move on to section 3? Any more comments or questions? Okay. Oh, hi, Christina.
Hi, I just wanted to ask you, why are we ending it on Labor Day? Because it's still early in the season for leaves and other things.
What we would be ending the restriction on Labor Day.
Right. Why not make it the end of September?
You mean extend the period
Yeah.
that has to be quiet?
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not going to have the leaves dropping until literally the end of September. So I wonder why not just keep the peace and quiet a little longer.
I think my husband
I
would
can-
disagree.
I think I can give an answer to that. Number one, I think it's arbitrary. Number two, nobody can accurately predict when leaves begin to fall and they need to be blown out of the way. And I think the greatest concern I heard from the vocal minority of citizens who are strongly in favor of restrictions had to do with summer, not with the fall or other seasons. So I think
But summer
This
doesn't
was-
end until the end of September.
I don't mean the definitional summer. I mean the summer season, which most people consider to be Memorial Day through Labor Day. Again, it's arbitrary.
Okay. Just a
I-
suggestion.
Can
Yeah.
I say something? I think Christina has a point in the sense that I didn't hear residents saying that they wanted the restriction to end on Labor Day. I just heard residents asking for a solution. So I don't think it's off the table, at least in my mind, to extend it, the natural end of summer. The technical end of summer is September 21st. I mean, I'm open to other people's ideas, but I don't think it's something that shouldn't be considered if other people feel similarly.
I am inclined to keep this time period because if we start saying, well, September 21st is the actual end of summer, then June 21st is the, actual start of summer instead of Memorial Day. So I personally like consistency, and if we're going to hold it to those sort of holidays and traditional thinking. I also just want to say too, that we do this ordinance, and if we find that, seasons are shifting as they seem to be, or things need to be amended, it can always be amended or lengthened. And I think when the first time that something like this is in effect, we have to see what the compliance is like and whether there's an impact on quality of life. And I tend to go more conservative in that sense of not too many restrictions right out of the gate, because I think it's easier to amend later. But we can take a vote on it too, if you guys want to extend the end date. Mike, do you have any thoughts?
Not at this time. I am going to ask you guys to give me more of a history at some point. It doesn't have to be tonight.
Turn your mic on.
Oh, well. No, I'm comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with it ending on Labor Day at this point.
I can give a little bit more history if you want before we move on. This is an issue that has been discussed or brought up to me since I was first elected in 2021. Is that right? 2021. We've been debating it on this committee since 2021. Really, it sort of died a little bit for a couple of years, and then was, before every summer, typically it gets resurrected as soon as the leaf blowers start and people want to, and the weather gets nice. And so there was a lot of correspondence from residents last spring, I think, leading up into the summer, for us to do something and finally put something on the books. And as time has gone on, during my term at least, more and more municipalities have banned them seasonally, banned them totally. There's a variety. I have a whole chart I can send you that I used to draft the initial ordinance of, I think, all of the comparable towns in Westchester County, Connecticut, and some in Long Island, some in Massachusetts, that have some sort of restriction on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. Okay.
Eric referred to it as a vocal minority that want these restrictions. Is that the case?
Well, I mean, I think that there is a vocal set of residents who want it. I think, anecdotally, which isn't data, but anecdotally, most people I talk to have complained to me at least once about the cacophony of noise. I think the noise, to me, seems to be the biggest issue. And then there's also environmental factors. And I think that, the market is slowly sort of going towards battery powered operators, but I'm not sure we can count on that anymore as a solution.
If I may, Mike, the town council received written emails from, or heard at town council meetings from, less than 1% of town residents, considerably less than 1% of town residents, requesting a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Anecdotal evidence is always dependent on who is hearing the comments. Most of the people I talk to do not complain about the noise. Some do. I have some good friends who are very much in favor of a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. I have other people who do not want to see any kind of ban or restriction on gas-powered leaf blowers. So anecdotally, my evidence is anything but conclusive.
Kim.
Mike, I just wanted to let you know that there's a video of a town council meeting where a bunch of presentations were done from Mr. Seal, landscapers, and then the Health and Human Services Department also did a session on the health effects of gas-powered leaf blowers. So I just want to, if you, maybe in preparation for the next meeting or whatever, you might want to watch those, because it gives you kind of a full picture of why this is so important, not only for the residents, but for the health of pets and children and, lots of other reasons. So there's kind of a greater kind of mission here, I think, in this ordinance that goes beyond anecdotal complaining. Is a quality of life issue that has been expressed to us by many different residents. I don't know about the 1%. I'd have to check that. But just to put that out there.
Maria?
And I've also heard from people not in support and more supportive of educating the public, having neighbors communicate with each other, maybe limiting hours. And, you know, I know we're going to go through this and kind of craft the language, but I did have problems with some areas of enforcement and, you know, what does this mean? It says the police will enforce it. Does that mean they come on your property to see if you're using a gas versus electric? I mean, noise is noise. Are we going to ban them? Everything. I think there's a lot of problems with the policy. And this is what I'm hearing from people, you know, like if the town's allowed to use a leaf blower, but not a landlord who owns a building. So I think there's a lot of discussion still happening. And I hear everyone that hates the sound, you know, that the sound is too much. So it's a problem, but, you know, maybe we could fix it. I'm hearing, you know, in other ways. So I think it's still up for debate. We're going to craft the language, but.
And then it still has to go before if we decide to move it forward, it would still have to go before the full town council.
Right.
So that's good to have input there
Exactly.
too.
Thanks for the history.
Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hillary, does it need to be clarified that electric or battery operated leaf blowers are okay to use?
I think we do that. And
okay, I might have missed it as long as it's clear.
yeah.
Do you have the red line?
Yeah,
copy? Oh,
I
okay.
do.
Sometimes it doesn't open the right way on the iPad, so.
Yeah. And it doesn't open on my phone. Like if I try to open it,
With
it
the
doesn't
red line,
show
yeah.
the edits. So it
Yeah,
just
forget
shows-
about the tablet. It doesn't open at all.
Right.
This doesn't
Yeah.
show it.
Well, there you go.
I'd like to comment on the gas versus electric. I have not heard any town resident, nor did any town resident come to town council and complain about issues with respect to electric leaf blowers. So I don't know why we're including any restriction in this draft ordinance with respect to electric leaf blowers. In fact, we did have one person come to the town council meeting and demonstrate sound of electric. Obviously, he couldn't bring a gas-powered one into the room, but I don't remember hearing anybody complain vocally about the use of electric leaf blowers. And I strongly believe we should not be putting any restrictions on electric leaf blowers in this ordinance draft. I also think that with respect to gas-powered leaf blowers, I want to make clear that I am not opposed to restrictions on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers during the summer. What I am opposed to is a complete ban on gas-powered leaf blowers during the summer. And I think that a step-by-step approach makes a lot more sense because, as I said, we have not heard from a majority of town residents on this issue. And we're about to consider drafting an ordinance that would affect, very likely, a majority of town residents who already have significant costs in lawn maintenance. And by imposing a complete ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, very likely the cost of maintaining their outdoor real estate, which is highly valued, the cost of maintaining that would rise dramatically if they were forced to abandon entirely gas-powered lawn equipment during the summer and go to fully electric. So I would prefer to see a restriction on the hours of use for gas-powered leaf blowers only during this summer season and no restriction on electric leaf blowers or other lawn equipment.
Kim?
I'd like to make a request that we move along to look at the rest of the ordinance. We're, a committee of 8 people. The town council has 12 people. Everyone has different opinions. I think that we've been presented with a lot of facts that may counter what some people have interpreted as what they see as facts. So is it possible for us to move along with this? And then, if we take a vote and if it's not unanimous, it's not unanimous. But I just feel like, for me, I think that this is a very good start. And I'm in favor of the way the ordinance is written with the restrictions on gas-powered leaf blowers in the summer. And I think it gives a lot of flexibility that other towns don't give, that have a complete ban on all leaf blowers all summer. Some of them have, graduated ordinances that stop leaf blowers all year round. So I think this is a compromise that takes into account all the people that we were presented with, that presented to us, from the landscapers to the people who like to use their leaf blowers. And I think if we look at it and see it in full, I think I'd like to make a request that we do that first.
Sure.
Thank you.
Let's do that. And I have comments from Jennifer Zonas, who couldn't be here, which I was going to say at the end after we go through every section, if that's okay.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on then to section 3. Subsection A, restriction on the use of leaf blowers. Little I, the use of gas-powered leaf blowers shall be prohibited within the town of New Canaan during the summer season as defined in section 2, unless exempt under subsection B. And then we'll get to the exemptions. And then 2, the use of electric leaf blowers shall be prohibited within the town of New Canaan during the summer season as defined in section 2 during the following hours: Monday through Friday before 10 a.m. and after 4 p.m. Saturday and Sunday before 12 o'clock p.m. and after 4 p.m. And then any federal and state holidays all day. And here are the exceptions, and then we'll talk about this section in full. The following uses are exempt from the restrictions of this ordinance. Leaf blowers used for emergency. So this applies to gas-powered leaf blowers, which would be not allowed to be used at all during the period from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And this would also apply to electric leaf blowers during that prohibited time frame on summer days. Okay, so these exemptions and exceptions apply. Leaf blowers used for emergency or safety purposes. Leaf blowers used for storm cleanup or snow removal. Leaf blowers used by the town of New Canaan's Department of Public Works, the DPW, and or public utility companies to clear debris affecting essential services. And single leaf blower use by residents on hard surfaces. As to this last exception, that was to address a person who wants to clear their deck before a barbecue or their driveway, or like my kids want to clear their trampoline of like little things that fall from the trees. We have an electric leaf blower, but if they wanted to do that at noon on a Wednesday and it takes a couple of minutes, I just don't want, and this could be electric or leaf or gas powered. I know the first selectman has expressed strong consideration for this, and that she would like to be able to clean off her sport courts before they use it, and they have a gas powered leaf blower. So this is an attempt to really control the noise and the environmental and health damage from the use of multiple gas powered leaf blowers for an extended period of time during the summer months, when, from what we heard from the landscapers, they're not as necessary for yard cleanup as it is when you have leaves that are falling. So that is section 3. And let's discuss. Mike.
I think this is you're opening a bit of a Pandora's box, and I understand why you're doing it. And I well understand a gas versus electric. They are much quieter. But if you're going to say, well, it's okay to use a gas leaf blower, even just for 10 minutes on a tennis court or something like that, I think then people are going to say, okay, let me push this envelope and I'll use it for 30 minutes or 40 minutes on my driveway. I think you kind of have to stick with it one way or the other. And if you want to allow people to use a leaf blower for 10 minutes to clear a trampoline or a sports place, then it's got to be electric, and that's a clear thing. The other thing that I just have a question on. So the country club, the field club, all these people are going to have to change over to electric if they don't have electric. This ordinance going to cover them too?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think some history is important, and I hear what you're saying, Mike. And when I read it a couple of times because I wanted to understand that particular exemption. And we did have some people, like I remember there was one resident who said she can't, the time it would take her to get a broom and sweep her entire driveway, and just physically she wasn't able to do it. So she wanted to be able to take grass clippings and be able to clear them off with a leaf blower. So as much as it might open up Pandora's box, I think it does show flexibility to the homeowner that feels very set on they do not want to buy an electric blower. Maybe they can't afford to buy one, and or they want to be able to make their property look a certain way without sweeping it. So I think it's worth trying to see how it goes. But I hear your concerns. There is some wiggle room in there. It's a little bit vague, but I'm hoping with, neighbors don't want to hear the noise, and there's going to be kind of this overall, like, kind of self-awareness, like, oh, I don't want to keep this going for too long. I'm hoping that the overall ordinance would make people be more judicious in their use of what they're doing. But it's not written, but we can see.
And I think, one thing to keep in mind is that when you write an ordinance and we have laws and we have, you're not supposed to speed and you're supposed to stop at the stoplight. And, if I don't want to let good be the end or perfect be the enemy of good, particularly when we're starting out.
Yeah.
So, are we going to have 100% compliance? Are people going to limit the use to 10 minutes versus 30? I don't know. In some respect, having an ordinance does provide some heft and some direction to people, and maybe just makes them aware that this is an issue instead of just discussing it or trying to have like something at the library about, it's like I said, I don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good, and you're never going to get 100% compliance right out of the gate from any law or ordinance. And I think what we're trying to do is send a message where we've sort of had this vacuum, right, where information has been presented. Planet New Canaan's done a good job. Other towns have done it. But sometimes until you put pen to paper and put something on the books, there's not a huge motivation to do it. But there's a lot of good people in this town that want to follow rules and will. And I think to the extent we can curb gas-powered leaf blower use by, I don't know, this is arbitrary, so I'm just throwing it 30 to 40%. I think that would be a huge impact, quality of life wise, for the people who the noise and the fumes and everything bothers them. So that's kind of that's where I'm coming from is I don't want to let it go.
My experience has been that most of the people complaining about gas-powered leaf blowers, and again, nobody I've heard has been complaining about electric leaf blowers. So I am adamantly opposed to any restriction on the use of electric leaf blowers at any time of the year and for any purpose. But the overwhelming complaint from people and concern of that very vocal 1% or less than 1% minority of town residents has been in opposition to gas-powered leaf blowers, and it's been about the noise. So I think the enforcement of the noise ordinance should perhaps be looked at as well, which points to my next question. And again, I will reiterate, I'm not opposed to a restriction on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers for some time during the summer. And I think a step-by-step approach where we restrict the hours, as in what has written down below with respect to the electric, I would apply that to the gas-powered leaf blowers as a first step, and let's see how it goes. That would be my recommendation. I think putting in single leaf blower use by residents on hard surfaces is completely undefined. And what one person thinks is a hard surface, another person might not. And to Mike's point, there's no time limit on that. So that tells me I can use my gas-powered leaf blower anytime I want because it's accepted. It just, that's way too much wiggle room and far too arbitrary. And I would at very least strike the words on hard surfaces there. But again, I'm adamantly opposed to the restriction of any kind on electric leaf blowers at any time. And I'm very strongly opposed to an outright ban on gas-powered leaf blowers through the entire summer season. The last point I would make is that this is essentially unenforceable. I don't know who's going to be enforcing this ordinance. My supposition is that the New Canaan Police Department has far higher priorities on their agenda of things they need to do. I don't see the New Canaan Police policing town residents on their use of leaf blowers. And
I think we're going to get to that. Can we get to that
Okay.
part on enforcement?
Sure.
Because
sure,
in the town charter says that the police are supposed to enforce the ordinances. So I think we have to have trust that if this does, become an ordinance, that it will be taken care of. But, there's different caveats that have been put into the ordinance. So, I have
all
to
right.
say.
I will leave my comments as to section 3 then, and leave the enforceability to the next discussion.
Thanks, Eric.
A couple comments. I don't totally agree with you, Eric, as far as the electric leaf blowers. From what I know, they seem to have less power. To me, they have a higher pitch. So I think they're going to be going on longer to do the same job that maybe a gas power might do. So I think if you're going to ban leaf blowers, it's all of them. If the problem to solve is the noise, then solve the noise problem, because by leaving the electric leaf blowers in there, now you're putting the enforcement in a position to have to discern, from a complaint, is that an electric leaf blower or is that a gas powered leaf blower? So that part I don't totally agree with. I do agree that I think restrictions would be better than a total ban. I mean, if you're going to have all these exceptions and we can all work around those, it's not enforceable enough. There's loopholes. So if you want an exception, just have restrictions on the time. And the other thing is, when we're talking about the exceptions, this basically would mean the town would need all new equipment if they're only allowed to use the gas power during an issue that affected essential services. Therefore, the town would need new equipment for the summer, I think, new electric equipment. And, with the costs going up, now you're making everyone pay higher electric costs for their leaf blowers, and the town will be paying higher bills. So I think
I'm not sure
Yeah.
why this exception
Yeah.
would impact the town. I mean,
It
this is a
doesn't.
pretty broad exception for DPW. It's like they can use it on sidewalks to
it
clear.
says to
but-
clear debris affecting essential services. So if they're
No, it says
cutting,
and/or. So it says leaf blowers, which is defined as gas or electric in the definition, used by the town of New Canaan. So it gives them carte blanche to use whatever they want, whenever they want, and/or public utility companies to clear debris. So basically,
no, you have the thing that says
DPW
affecting essential services. So if we're just doing lawn maintenance or something, that's not essential.
but I think that only applies to public utility companies, right? The effective services is,
Yeah.
so that would be like Eversource. But for the town of New Canaan, I mean, you could separate it into 2 sentences to make it more clear maybe, but there's 2 separate things. The town does not have to get all new equipment. They are exempt from the ordinance. They can use gas or electric. the way, am I correct?
Yeah.
Hillary, in the way that it's written. And then Eversource can use it if they need to clear debris. And I think in terms of the exemption, I think the hard surfaces, I think is helpful because it basically means in the summer, there's no leaves and that electric or single leaf blowers are used usually to clear a hard surface, not to blow grass around on the lawn. So I think, is that the intent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like your walk, your porch, your deck, your,
So just my last point on the town being allowed to use it, but not the businesses and the landlords. Like some of them have a lot of maintenance too. So now you're putting a burden on landlords and businesses to change the way they are maintaining things. Their electric bills will go higher because they're plugging in somewhere. So, and I feel like the restrictions have to be more of if we're going to do it, it should be more of a time restricted, a time when you can't use this equipment.
I will note that the first draft had a complete ban on leaf blowers during the summer, period, for everyone. And there was when we went through this before, it was, made very clear that we wanted to have it separate, that there would be a ban. We could do perhaps a full restriction on the gas ones, but allow electric during certain times. I'm sort of agnostic about it, particularly if we have exceptions for when any leaf blower can be used, because I actually don't hear or see a qualitative difference between the noise created by one gas powered leaf blower versus one electric. They're both really loud.
Right. That's
yeah, they're both really loud, and one maybe doesn't have the environmental and health impacts that the other one does. So to me, it's like if there were 4 gas powered leaf blowers blowing on my property or 4 electric, I wouldn't really know the difference.
Right.
And I had done, to your point, when I had drafted this initially, I had put the full restriction on to sort of solve this sort of nosy neighbor problem where they're like, is that gas or electric? And I'm just going to call the police on my neighbor anyway, because I don't want to figure it out. So I hear you on that, because I think it could go either way. If we're trying to promote the use of electric leaf blowers, this might be, a push in that direction. And I think let's be clear. I think what we're really trying to solve for here are commercial uses of multiple leaf blowers in the summer when their utility is questionable at best, on properties. And so you have this sort of surround sound constantly of multiple leaf blowers for commercial use, when we were told by landscapers that they weren't really essential for the summer. And so I think we're trying to solve for the individual homeowner who might want to clear their driveway. I mean, I get those do you guys get those little things from the trees that are like the little,
Yep.
They're annoying. And so people, want to clear their driveway. I get it. So, so that's sort of my thought.
I would also point
I also
out.
concur with what Hillary's saying about if this is a compromise, because I do remember that the total ban was not that acceptable to everyone. So I did see this more as a compromise that people can use electric, but it's more restrictive hours. And some states are moving in the direction of banning gas powered leaf blowers for the entire state. So I see this preparing us for what might inevitably happen. And then it's possible that if people do adopt it, then, things could change and the ordinance could change in a certain direction. But I think it's an aspirational beginning. And I want to point everyone back to the talks that were given on the health effects of gas powered leaf blowers. It's not just the exhaust from the engines, but it's the pesticides that are put on lawns and then are blown around in the summer when it's very dry. And that's going, neighbors have to breathe that in, and pets, and then it goes into the groundwater and so on and so forth. So I think it's more than noise. So I have to, not concur with Eric that it's purely noise. People who have looked at the presentations and have given the presentations have made a very strong case that it's much more than noise. That's just one aspect of the intent of stopping the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in the summer, in my opinion.
Let me just correct one thing. I did not say it was purely noise. What I did say was that the overwhelming majority of complaints and as a desire for banning the gas-powered leaf blowers had to do with the noise. That was the majority of the comments.
I don't
and
agree with that. I read all the comments. It was not just the noise. I read the comments and people are very aware of the health effects. So
Let-
I don't agree with that. We could go through, sit down together and look at all the comments. I have them all on a spreadsheet, and that is not my impression.
Okay, we have differing impressions. I would like to also go back to the point that if we ban gas-powered leaf blowers, the people who are caring for their lawns, using lawn services that use gas-powered leaf blowers, that would force those lawn service people to invest in more expensive and less efficient electric replacements for those gas-powered leaf blowers. Those expenses would naturally be passed along to the property owners. So residents in town, because of a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, will very likely see their lawn care service costs rise. And I'm not in favor of driving up those costs for our tax-paying residents.
I'd like to respond to that just by pointing you back to the presentation that was given to the whole town council where it talks about the cycle of gas-powered leaf blowers and electric leaf blowers. Gas-powered leaf blowers need gas. They have to be serviced. They only last for a couple of years. And someone did an economic analysis of what happens when companies buy electric leaf blowers, and it ends up actually over a certain period of time being less expensive than the gas-powered leaf blowers. So I don't think that's an opinion, but it has not been shown to be fact. So I think we have to be really careful when we, throw around opinions when they're not based in presentations that were given to the town council with actual numbers and graphs and all those kinds of things.
I saw the same presentations and I stand by my statements. And I'm not just throwing around anything. I'm simply stating what my experience was of the people who came to speak to town council.
Thank you. And I also just want to say that, or the landscape companies don't use any leaf blowers during the summer.
Yeah.
That's another possibility. And it could be that people's lawn service costs go down because the amount of time that a landscaper is spending on their property in the summer is more limited.
Let me ask about the
and they can use them in the fall. So
yeah, I mean, buying a rake is a lot less expensive than replacing a leaf blower. So I think Hillary's right. I mean, it may actually bring down the cost for the the homeowner, because the landscapers are spending less time at their property.
I'm a serious gardener, guys.
Well, I
owned a green company at one point. There is no way my guy is going to stop blowing the terraces in the summer and the walkways. He will have to get an electric thing. And if he charges me a few bucks more, I'd be okay with that.
Or he can borrow yours, Mike.
So,
I'm sorry.
let me also point out that we do occasionally have pretty wild storms in the summer. And it's going to take a lot longer to clear that up with other equipment.
Well, luckily we have an exception for storm cleanup, Eric, for any leaf blower.
Well, I think it's got to be very, very clear. Yeah, and the leaf blowers used by the town of New Canaan's Department of Public Works and or public utility companies to clear debris affecting essential services. That needs to be more clearly defined.
We could just break it into two sentences and make it clear that, one is for one purpose, clear debris, and the other one's for the town of New Canaan. I don't think that's a deal breaker.
I remembered.
Okay.
To your point, Kim, about
Yes.
the toxic pesticides getting stirred up. So I
Yes.
think that would happen with electric leaf blowers too.
It would. It
So,
would.
I also think the big, lawnmowers kick up stuff, and we're going to address the gas powered lawnmowers. I know that's a whole nother ball of wax. So, we should really ban the pesticides. That might be a solution
Well,
for that.
that's another idea for an ordinance
Yeah.
that we could seriously discuss, but I
Well,
do
well,
think that the
sorry, I have
hours
one
are
more.
more restrictive, so even though it's electric and the hours are more restrictive than they are in the noise ordinance, so I think that just the ordinance itself would reduce the pesticides blowing around, because it's only from 12 to 4 that you can use the leaf blowers in the summer.
Yeah, I mean,
The grass pesticides now that use, I mean, pretty much everybody is organic.
yeah.
There's only one, the crabgrass suppressing pesticide is the only one that's a chemical still. All the rest are organic.
I don't know, in mine, when I walk around, there's different, signs that companies will leave.
Yeah, yeah.
And
like
some
they
will
have to put
say
the-
organic and some will say not. And most of the signs that I anecdotally see are not the organic ones. So kudos to you if you're using organic.
with the exception of the crabgrass.
Yes.
Maria, did you have something else that you wanted to add?
I just, when we get to the end, I
Yeah.
want to come back to the cost that this will, that residents will have to incur and landlords. So that's just something, after we get through everything, I want to just make sure we touch on that.
And if you know a landlord who would be impacted by this, I would love to hear from them. I mean, I think I take Eric's point that, it's a number of people who have come here, and it's certainly not a majority of residents, because the majority of residents aren't coming to any of our meetings. I mean, we approve a $110 million budget with 20 people weighing in.
Mhm.
So I don't know that would preclude us from passing any ordinance. And so, yes, we should talk about that.
Mhm.
But so what should we do with section 3? We've had a pretty fruitful discussion about it.
I would say go with just, if you're going to restrict leaf blowers, restrict all leaf blowers a certain time, a time restriction. But so that would go back to removing summer season, right?
Oh,
It would just be a time restriction during every day. You can only,
even in the fall?
well, I guess we do then need the summer season. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, some kind of time restriction during
So
that
you-
period.
Would you have, during the summer season, would you have instead of banning gas-powered leaf blowers and permitting electric during certain time periods, you would say all leaf blowers cannot be used outside of
Those hours,
these
yeah.
hours? Any thoughts on that edit?
I'm in favor of the way it's written, section I, AI, and A2. I support. And when you get to the exceptions, my suggestion would be to maybe break out the third bullet point after it says DPW, make a period, and then add another bullet point so they look like it makes it clear that the town of New Canaan can use leaf blowers for, maintenance. And then the other line would be separate, that it would be Eversource. So I definitely see this as a compromise and in moving in the right direction of the way technology is moving in terms of noise and health and all that kind of stuff and what the residents are asking for. And I concur with Hillary that, we pass $183 million budget and not one person showed up at the Board of Finance meeting to speak about it. So does that mean we don't pass it? No, we pass it. So, I think we have a very vocal group that has made their point. They made their points, and I think we're accountable to them. And it's our, job to respond to the residents. And the ones that haven't come forward, there's still time. Landlords or other people that have things that they think that we should add. I'd be more than happy to, think about that.
I think that the idea of doing it just 10 to 4, banning, and then, making it a total ban with the exception, and then you could have gas or electric 10 to 4. It's actually going to turn out to be more of a burden on the landscape guys. My guy gets there about 8:30. They do start early and they finish late. So I think that they're, their choice would be, give up the property or get an electric. And, that is one of the ideas behind this ordinance, is to push people into, greener options. So I guess I kind of like on the first, that this idea of banning the gas and then have use of electric 10 to 4. I guess there would have to be there would have to be a carve out for the landscape guys. Because no, they can't get their lawns done 10 to 4. That's
Well, it's not restricting lawn care. It's just restricting the use of leaf blowers outside of those hours.
well, then I couldn't support that. I could see the guys, these guys, they don't, and also these teams show up. They just do things by rote. One guy goes and cuts the lawn. One guy does the leaf blow. It's not even leaf blow. It's the grass grows, and it does that. Another guy trims the thing to do the trimming. It doesn't work that way.
Well, then they can't use a leaf blower.
Yeah, can't they use a rake or an electric blower? But I think we have to keep our
No,
eye
she
on.
just said they can't use an electric blower before 10 a.m.
Right, so they would have to use either a rake or they would just not blow grass clippings around. They could rake the grass clipping, or they could use a bag on their mowers and then take their grass clippings and deposit them somewhere else. It doesn't mean that their whole lawn service can't show up at 8:30 in the morning. But I think we have to keep our eye on the ball here. We're not representing, as much as I'm sympathetic to economic arguments, we're representing the residents, not lawn care companies. So lawn care companies can still do business, but this is a tweak in their business model. It's a tweak in the way they have to take care of lawns. And it's only for the summer. They can do whatever they want from September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. Yes, Christina. Sorry, I don't mean to.
That's okay. Christina.
I just wanted to say that I like it the way it is. I thought of extending the time, but I do hear what Mike is saying about the landscapers, but I recall that Eric's landscapers stated that blowers were not really necessary in the summer and they could be done away with. And I would like to have it at least as a test run and then meet up again sometime towards the end of September and review and see if there have been any complaints about it. But we have to take one step forward to address it in some way.
And I go back to what I said before. I think one step forward is to restrict the use of gas-powered leaf blowers during the summer season, but to restrict electric leaf blowers, I think that's, and I'm not siding with the landscapers. I'm talking about the increased costs to residents and taxpayers as a result of our ordinance forcing those people's lawn care services to go with more expensive options. And the idea that a lawn care service could use rakes to clean up the grass clippings is laughable, because it would take hours and hours more than a leaf blower would take to clean up those grass clippings. And he'd have to hire more people, and that would be more and more cost burden on the
They can use a
taxpayer
bag.
landowner.
I'm going to suggest that we go on to the rest of the ordinance. I feel like we're spinning our wheels, and I think, can we go on
Yeah,
to the rest?
I think that everybody's position is clear.
Yeah.
We could take, since it seems to be a bit split, do we want to take a vote on whether we maintain this language or change it in some way? Or do we need to think on it a little bit more?
I'm fine with taking a vote.
I think we need to think on it. I'm a little uncomfortable with it.
I would agree.
I'm not that, and trust me, I am for this. I mean, but I think I do just see these guys not being able to comply. I mean, I think we're making a law that nobody's going to comply with.
I disagree. I disagree completely. I think you're not giving enough credit to people in this town that want to do the right thing and don't want to break ordinances.
Yeah, and there's no leaves in the summer. that's what a leaf blower, that's why it's called a leaf blower. There's no leaves in the summer. So I think this is a compromise we've been dealing with this issue since 2021. We thought about it for a couple of years and the residents came to us in 2021. Now they're coming back to us and we're going to think about it again. I'm fine with taking a vote and, I mean, it's on one section, right?
Yeah.
Hillary, is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, I mean, or we can, I can split the exceptions and split that one. We can, and we'll have to meet again.
I would say too, I just have to say to you, Kim,
Mhm.
there are like when the dogwoods all drop everything, like in May, you do get stuff on the.
And
all
they
over
can
the
do it till
place.
Memorial Day.
And they
They can use anything until Memorial
I have a
Day.
very late dogwoods.
And they
No,
can
I
use
get
a-
it.
And they can use electric, right?
They
so
blow my
the
terraces
other
every
thing,
week.
the other thing that I would suggest is if we are going to meet again, it would be great to put the public hearing portion on the agenda because I think it was great to hear from Mr. Anderson. But if we're going to be possibly striking lots of things, it would be great to hear from people again, I guess I would say, and put that on the agenda. But yeah.
I mean, I could support this as is if we just moved the time from 8 to 4.
Instead of
I
10
think
to
10 I
Monday through
think 10
Friday?
is super restrictive.
And that's only electric leaf blowers though.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, just exactly as is, 8 to 4. I think we're putting people into, those guys work really hard. And like I said, they do it by rote. Let them go out and buy all new leaf blowers. That I'm all for. But this idea of them not being able to use it before 10, it's just unenforceable.
I also think they're going to need more than one leaf blower. I mean, they're going to need multiple leaf blowers, or some way to charge the batteries, right? Their battery pack.
Well, you can have several in your truck and just change them
Right.
out.
So someone's charging them somewhere. I mean, I don't think the cost is invisible. So what I was going to say about cost before, I'll just mention now, the state, when they come up with a new law, there is the Office of Legislative Research that might look into the cost of implementing something. I feel like we need to think about that, the impact of this. I think we need to take a minute and study what the impact of doing this would be and whether that means we send a Google form to every resident. We have everybody on Deanna's newsletter, something that would gauge more than the people that actually came here to speak. And the Chamber of Commerce can send something out. I feel like we don't have everyone's input and we don't have, like you'll pay extra, but maybe that's a hardship for someone else. So I think the input would be handy.
I mean, can I respond to that?
Mhm.
We had talked about on town council, we came to an impasse. Was it in the fall? And we talked about forming a task force. And then we voted against that, or we decided against that. And we said, let's go back to bylaws and ordinances. So I think we've already made that decision to kick it back to bylaws and ordinances. And I do think that the hardship is not during the time when it's fall cleanup or spring cleanup and it's just grass clippings. So I'm wondering if there's a way to move forward right now. And then we're missing, half the town council. And if we can move something forward and bring it to the full town council with public comment. And because I feel like we're kind of spinning our wheels.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an excellent point that, our voice, if we were to escalate this up to the full town council, your suggestions, Eric's, anybody's suggestions, it's not like you can't speak on it anymore, that you're fully behind every single portion of this. And I would expect, to the extent that any draft that we escalate, everyone would have input on that. And I'm not asking, I wouldn't ask, particularly knowing where several people stand, and some questions that are still outstanding that hopefully we could get some sort of answer to. I mean, I don't know that I don't know that I can buy the assumption that it will net increase costs so much that to people who pay for landscaping services instead of doing it themselves, that it's gonna dramatically increase it because of a 3-month restriction on the use of gas powered leaf blowers. Like, I just don't know that I buy that assumption. Because there's no data on that either. So, you
Hence
know,
the survey.
well, but I mean, I think,
Well, again, what we're not talking
Eric,
about
I'm
a
not done.
restrict.
Eric, I'm not
We're
done
not
yet.
talking about it.
Eric,
I'm
I am
sorry.
not finished speaking. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought you were. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. But like, I think when you tell any resident about a change, the assumption is, rightfully so, that the cost is going to go up to them. And I just don't know that that seems to me to be an assumption. I think the vast majority of leaf blower use is during fall when you have leaf cleanup. We're not touching that. Despite the fact that the people who have come to us to ask for these restrictions have asked for a total ban all year. I mean, this is like kind of small potatoes here.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just want to keep that in mind, that like, this is not, we're not treading here.
Yeah, I mean,
terribly.
if you look at certain towns that are really leading the charge on this, they have total bans and they phase it in sometimes over 1 to 2 years, but there's absolutely no leaf blower, no matter how it's powered, can be used at all. So I think that this is small potatoes compared to what the residents did ask for. And I think it's our duty to provide some relief. And I think we're already giving a lot of thought to the landscapers by letting them use gas powered, not having to switch over during their busiest season, during fall and spring cleanups. And so I see this really as a compromise.
Eric, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. We are not talking about a restriction on gas powered leaf blowers here. We are talking about a 3-month total ban on gas powered leaf blowers. So I hope we will use the correct language in describing what this draft ordinance is.
No, not if you look at the
is saying.
exceptions, Eric. If you look at the exceptions, we are not talking about a total ban. We're letting the town of New Canaan use gas powered, Eversource use gas powered. If a resident wants to clean their driveway with gas powered, so it is absolutely not a total ban of gas powered leaf blowers. That's why there's section B that say exceptions.
There are exceptions to everything, but I says it's a ban for the summer
Yeah,
season.
well, then don't say that it's a total ban on gas powered leaf blowers, because that's not accurate, right?
I said it was a total ban on gas powered leaf blowers during the summer. Obviously, there are exceptions. I can see those. Those are written down and I plainly can see those, but we're not talking about gas powered leaf blower restrictions here. We're talking about a ban on gas powered leaf blowers with the exceptions, but it's a ban. It's not a restriction.
I don't know that I understand that,
Yeah.
I
He's
don't-
saying it's a ban during that period of time.
unless an
It's-
exception applies.
Unless there's an take the exceptions out. It is a
No,
ban.
we don't take the exceptions out. They're part of the ordinance
Yeah.
and they are referred to in that, in a little I.
I
Like,
mean-
I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean,
I
a
really
ban-
don't understand
So
this.
what, I mean.
A ban to me is an all or nothing. It's either one or the other. But this is restrictions for certain conditions, not a ban. A ban would mean no one could use them. The town couldn't, homeowners couldn't, Eversource couldn't, and that's not what's written here. A ban is an all or nothing phenomenon. Something is banned. Like prohibition, when there was no alcohol. That wasn't like only some people can drink. It was like, no one can sell alcohol. So it's a ban. It's not a ban.
Go ahead, Eric.
A little I is a ban with exceptions. A little 2I is a restriction with exceptions.
Okay.
I mean, we don't need to argue.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Semantic.
it's exactly.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. Because I think, Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, if I count you, we can consider either 8 or 10 a.m. for
I
the
would do,
start.
if you did it to 8, I would vote yes.
Kim, how do you feel about 8?
I don't feel comfortable with 8. I
Okay.
feel like people in the summer, their kids are home from school. People might be sleeping.
Mhm.
People have meetings. They like to sit out in their yard. I like the way it is right now, which is 12 to 4. And I feel, is it 10 to 4 or 12 to 4?
Monday through Friday, 10 to 4.
Monday
and
through Friday, 10 to 4.
Saturday, Sunday, 10 to or 12.
So I would not vote for changing it to 8. I want to leave it the way it's written.
It would be just 8 during the week.
I understand that. I still feel like 10 is an important distinction.
Christina, do you have thoughts?
No, I think the way it is fine. But if the majority wants to change it, I'm not going to object.
So Mike, I'll make a note of it, 8 to 10, and it's something that we can discuss if this goes higher, if it goes to the full town council. Anything else?
I'm just trying to rationalize the logic of if it's noise, then there should be no noise. So could use the time to think about that.
Okay. Eric, I think we know your position, my friend.
Yes,
even wrote it
I'm not in favor of this ordinance draft as it is written.
If
And
you
will,
have
and will
any-
not support it to the town council.
Okay, well, what would be helpful is if you could send me some specific edits like you did the last time too. That would make it acceptable to you, just so we have it down, and just so we can look at alternatives. And if you know, if
Can I
any-
explain to you it's pretty basic change. What I would recommend and what I would be supportive of is a little 2I being applied to gas powered leaf blowers and striking a little single I.
and then would you remove the exceptions?
No, I'm okay with the exceptions. I would define them more clearly, but I would certainly remove the words on hard surfaces. I think that's far too nebulous.
Okay, if you have any suggestions regarding specific language, then I would appreciate it if you would send it to me. That would be helpful,
Okay, I will do that.
like on the exceptions. Okay,
Can Eric, you
Yep.
explain what you want to change it to? It went over my head.
Okay, so basically, section 3,
Yeah,
A, restriction on the use of leaf blowers. I would strike the entire first paragraph there, which is little single I.
yep,
And in 2I, I would just make that the only restriction. And instead of where it says electric, I would change that to gas powered. In other words, I would put restrictions on the hours of use for gas powered leaf blowers during the summer season, period. I would not put any restrictions on the use of electric leaf blowers. And the exceptions, I would probably stay the way they are, but I would clarify and split that third bullet and clarify the fourth one and remove the words on hard surfaces and probably change that or remove it.
that's clear. Thank you.
okay.
Did Jennifer send comments as well?
I have some comments from her, not specific language comments. She's generally okay with the draft and
Okay,
just had some comments on,
so she supports it as written?
Yeah.
Okay, just
but
wondering.
obviously since she's not here, she can't.
No,
the
I know,
vote
I was
doesn't
just
count,
curious.
but
if
yes,
she-
yes,
I was
yeah.
wondering what she thought.
All right, so that's section 3. Are we ready to move on to section 4?
Yes. Please.
Great, all right, penalties. The violation of ordinance, there were no changes from the last time that we met on it. And Mike, if you want to just familiarize yourself with it, it would be assessed against property owners and subject to the following penalties, which are listed here. And this is pretty standard language whenever we have an ordinance that has a fine in it. I think I might have taken that fine language directly from the noise ordinance and put it in here. Any questions on subsection A? Any comments? Yes.
You know what, it brings me back to the subsection 3, that if there was a restriction on the hours, it would make it a whole lot easier to enforce because it would just be noise or not. So, you know, I come back to, I think this whole, this will be hard to, what will be the process? Will there be a form that neighbors fill out? Will they call the police? And I'm just wondering, what is the process for complaints? What's the process to follow up? Does the officer have to come down the driveway to confirm there's a violation? Do they have to decide, chase the homeowner around their property to see if it's gas or electric? So I just,
Not if it's a single-use homeowner. No.
Right,
'cause
then they
can
don't
use it
have to-
whenever- Yeah, then
Yes.
sorry, neighbor.
mean,
Right?
right, which goes back to the point of, so really, it's just gonna be, they're gonna be following the truck. If the
Yeah, I don't-
landscaper truck is parked on the road and it's before this time, they're gonna be listening to see if there's a sound that they, a leaf
Well,
blower.
yeah, I mean, I think a neighbor would call it in to whoever the enforcement officer is,
Mhm.
whether it's police or we have a separate enforcement officer. I mean, I'm thinking of the blight officer. That's just the first thing that comes to mind is like having a code, instead of having a blight officer who would respond as part of his job, which covers many things. He's not just the blight officer, so he doesn't just sit around and wait for blight complaints. But if there was a code enforcement officer that we called, that was a municipal employee, it's the same guy, maybe you call for blight or for nuisances or whatever. Perhaps they come out and check it out. Police enter your property if somebody calls about loud music after a certain time. So this is not, at least it's during the daytime, generally, because I don't know many people who are using leaf blowers late at night, but I don't want to judge. You do you. But yeah, listen, I think, so, and there is a process, and we could further delineate this process. I think in some jurisdictions, there is a place on the website where a resident can register a complaint. It either goes to the town, or it could maybe, I don't know if the Conservation Commission, if this is within their mission, or if there is, some board that sends a letter in the first instance. And the neighbor can kind of do it anonymously and say, I saw 6 leaf blowers out on my neighbor's property, and it's happening every week. So maybe the first thing is that a form letter goes to inform the resident that, there's this new ordinance, which we should obviously advertise to the whole town and let everybody know. But, a kind letter that says there's this ordinance, and we received a complaint that there was, several gas-powered leaf blowers being used on your property on this date at this time. Like, they would have to provide, I think, something specific. Please be aware of and list the penalties that might be incurred. Look, we could have a sunset or like a
Grace period.
grace period where the first summer is just going to be like letters and education and letting people get used to it. And it also gives potentially landscapers that really, really insist they must use a leaf blower during the summer, a year essentially to get new equipment, which they might have been doing anyway, because gas-powered leaf blowers only last a year or two and they need to get replaced anyway. So, I think there's a variety of ways we can work on that. I don't know if we have to spell it out specifically in the ordinance, because who knows what the technology is going to be. Like, a website might be totally obsolete in 5 years.
Right.
I think the ways that you implement it are important, but I think that's also kind of it would probably fall within the first selectman's office to figure out.
Yeah, I think it's up to the discretion of the blight officer and or the police. And I think the way they did it with parking, they kind of gave people a pass for a little while, but then it became people had to follow it or they would get a ticket. So I'm not in favor of sending letters for the whole summer, maybe for the first couple of weeks or 2 weeks or something. But, by the second and third time someone gets a letter, it's pretty clear that, now the ordinance is going to take over with these, penalties.
I mean, is this also something we're basically defining roles of some employee in town or the police department? Do we need to consider, do we have to get feedback about that? Like, because this is a role for someone. This would be a role, just like the blight officer.
Mhm.
Is there a budgetary implication of that? So I don't know. I go back to my Office of Legislative Research, or whatever it is, the cost of implementing a new statute in the town. I think there will be some cost to it and things will have to change. So I really.
Why wouldn't it just fall under somebody's, just as a new responsibility for somebody in town hall or the police? Or I don't understand why it would be suddenly a new job for somebody. I don't get that.
Or new responsibility. That's what I mean. It's a new task, drop what you're doing and go out to, Evergreen Road and check on the house that, are we creating?
Wouldn't the
an
police just do
ordinance?
Wouldn't it be a cop's job? One of the cops' jobs?
Could be.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
either,
I
but I mean,
It's
you know,
still, you can't be in two places at once if
Mm.
it takes you to something else. You know, yeah, it's only 3 months out of the year. It feels very complicated, rather than just, if you hear a noise during those hours, it's, we have exceptions, we almost have something where people have to go and investigate. So, I mean, that's just how I'm thinking about it.
I'm wondering why it's the homeowner and not the landscaper that would get the notice or the fine, actually. I mean, I don't know what these guys show up with half the time.
Well, that's a good point too. And how do you contact that? I guess by the name on the
No,
truck.
I've had the same guys
I mean,
forever.
I think
but-
people that do work on your yard. Yep, Eric, I see you. One sec. I think, that's it's the homeowner's property. It's the homeowner's responsibility. I'm not gonna, necessarily go and track down the landscaper and find them. I think what happens on your property is your problem. And if you want to have a conversation with your landscaper, if you get fined 3 times because of them, you need to have a conversation with your landscaper and say, this is the law in the town now. You cannot use these during these 3 months, period. And maybe they come to some compromise, but that's between the individual homeowner and their landscaping company. And I think that's how we get compliance from residents, is to make them personally on the hook if an agent of theirs that they've hired comes and violates an ordinance. I mean, I think that's pretty standard.
yeah, that makes sense to me.
Eric?
Yeah, just that same point, just as any increased cost as a result of the ordinance would go to the taxpayer, landowner, resident. Similarly, any infraction and penalty therefore would also go to the landowner, taxpayer, resident, not to the landscapers, because they are acting essentially as an employee or an agent of the landowner. With respect to the penalties and the enforcement, I don't think we have any real way to predict how this is going to unfold and go forward. But I think it is a lot more complicated and will raise considerably more calls to the police and complaints about things. And I don't know how that's all going to work out. And, I don't know that the police are going to work really hard on something like this when they're working really hard on a bunch of other things. But you did point out that they are charged by the charter to enforce the laws. So if they end up having to hire 3 more officers to take care of gas-powered leaf blower ordinance infractions, then yeah, there'll be an immediate cost to taxpayers.
I seriously doubt that they'd have to hire 3 more officers to do this. I think in the beginning, there's a learning curve. And then once there's compliance, I mean, look at the parking situation. People are still getting used to that. And that's extremely disruptive to people's behavior. So I see this as a far derivative of that. I mean, people get lawn service once a week. People come to town every day and park, sometimes multiple times a day. And, so, I mean, there's lots of changes that go on. So I have faith that, that this would work out in a positive manner.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to predict what the police will do. I know there's a lot of things that they have to deal with on the mean streets of New Canaan, and I don't say that lightly. I think there's, a lot of traffic stuff and there's kids on e-bikes, and there's there's home break-ins. I completely understand that, but my job is not to allow the police to have the option to do something, right? Like that doesn't drive necessarily my decision. If we were to pass an e-bike ordinance or something, that's their job. They can't just say, we're not going to enforce it, so don't pass it. I mean, I think that's
Yep.
that's a little bit of the tail wagging the dog here, which I'm not.
I agree, and I think you're right. I'm just looking out into the future and wondering how this is going to work, and I don't have a clear answer for that.
No, I hear you, and I think that's it's a good point to raise. But, you know, I think our job is to put laws that we think are appropriate on the books, ordinances that we think are appropriate on the books, that will ultimately benefit the town. And change is tough. Look, I've gotten like 4 parking tickets since because I end up spending more time and then I don't update the app, but I pay them. And it's like, that's on me, you know, that stinks, but
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it. I know the rules and I screwed up.
Yeah, and I've changed my behavior. I walk to town because I don't want to do certain parking. So like everyone does something different and adjusts in their own way. I mean, individual differences are the biggest predictor of behavior. So how every single person responds to this is we put it on paper and then we have to, you know, assume that people are going to make an adjustment. I mean, it's part of learning, you know. So I see it as a positive thing.
We could, you know what we could do too is under enforcement, and tell me what you guys think about this. If under enforcement, under Bi, it wasn't just like the designated officer, which we could change that term if it's, if people don't like that. But perhaps what we could, instead of limiting it to a municipal officer or employee selected by the first selectman, it could also be one of the appointed boards or commissions or something along those lines, so that there is then a clear path if the first selectman wanted to work with the Conservation Commission, for example, to accept complaints through a website or some way to do that, then the ordinance is written generally enough to allow that sort of thing, because obviously nobody on I don't think anybody on the Conservation Commission or any of the boards and commissions are employees or municipal officers, unless a municipal officer would cover that board or commission. I'm not clear on that, but it's something.
Change that in the charter. I mean, we're doing charter revision, but you could write on you could say in consultation with the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, or in consultation with, it could be the Utilities Commission or something, you know, it could be, you know, under an appropriate appointed board or commission or something, you know, something along those lines, so that there's a mechanism that it would allow for like the form letters, particularly during the grace period. Eric.
Yeah, you can't have a board or commission handing out tickets and levying fines.
No, I would just, I would have them at the first instance as like.
Yeah, again, it's a very complicated thing to start thinking about. I think we're getting beyond ourselves here.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it's that complicated.
No, I don't think it's I don't think it's complicated. I think it just shows that, you know, the Conservation Commission has already done work on this and they're in support of an all-out ban. So I think they would be motivated to help implement this. But if you get to the next section, section 5, it says
I agree with you, Eric.
public education and outreach. I think we're kind of like, that's also part of this, right? So like we're getting ahead of ourselves because maybe conservation can help with public education and outreach.
Yes, I mean, or, you know, some border committee. I just think, again, if you have a subset of people that have been identified as having the authority to do something in the enforcement chain, like we could even limit, we could put another subheading under enforcement and just say, you know, for first offenses, or we could define a grace period, or during this grace period, you know, an appointed board or commission selected by the first selectman will provide written notice of a violation. Something along, I mean, I can massage it and make that language better as an option, which we can all get together and think about it again. If that would not further complicate things, but it might.
But I do think we would need to talk to the first like I think if we're naming people that will do all these things, I feel like we have to talk to them. We have to get input.
I mean, I don't know a ton of people who are like, yes, please give me more work. I mean, and again, I don't think that that's a reason to not do something. Like, this is your job. Right. It becomes part of you're the executive, you handle employment, you handle a lot of things. Like, we created the Affordable Housing Commission and left it to the first selectman to populate it. Like, it was ultimately, and the Utilities Commission, the select people populated it. So we do this all the time. This isn't breaking new ground.
I don't know. I don't think if I got a letter from the Conservation Commission telling me I have to switch from gas to electric, and that if I don't, that you know, it'll be followed up with more severe fines. I might throw that letter in the trash. I think that it needs to come from something with some authority behind it. And I'm sorry, a commission that I never even heard of or didn't know existed in the town wouldn't do it for me. It would have to be coming from the police department or the town clerk would actually get my attention, something like that, but not some commission that was set up and maybe is peopled by volunteers.
So you like the way it's written then?
I know, because it says here, municipal officer and employee. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I mean, I think, like you said, no one likes more work. And I trust that the chief executive officer of the town will give it to someone or that can take it on. Or,
She could do it.
reallocate responsibilities. But, like on bylaws and ordinances, if you read the charter, I mean, the police we're on this committee. So if we make an ordinance that has to do with residents, the police are obligated to enforce the ordinances. And I mean, you can read how long that is. It's a lot of ordinances, but this would be something new.
Hillary?
Yes, Christina.
I would move to suggest that the Town Council Bylaws and Ordinance Committee send out an announcement via the newspapers that a new ordinance has been created and just lay it out what it is that the notice that this ordinance includes. I don't think that it has to come from any board or commission. I think bylaws and ordinance has to post it. And make
Oh, no, I
everybody aware.
completely agree with that. My
Mhm.
only question was in the realm of enforcement. So if you have somebody who violates the ordinance, who would be notified that there was that there was a violation occurring and who would have to respond to it?
Earlier on, we spoke about this, and I thought that it would be somebody from land use that would be responsible to notify them via letter as a notice the first time.
I would be fine with that. And again, I think it's something that the first selectman in their role as chief executive who handles those responsibilities of town employees could figure out the best person to do it. I don't know that that's for us to specify.
Right. I move that we move on to the section 5.
Do we have anything else further on this section? Eric, you had some comments, I thought, before. Did you cover that?
I did. I made my thoughts known.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, section 5 is public education and outreach. The edits here are saying that the designated officer, whoever that is by the first selectman, will provide outreach and educational things to stakeholders, includes information about the harmful effects of excessive gas-powered leaf blower use and the benefits of alternative methods for yard maintenance, such as rakes or electric leaf blowers. And then the public notice was not changed. Any comments on section 5?
The only one I'm thinking of is that we're singling out gas-powered leaf blowers as, or the excessive use of gas-powered leaf blowers only as having harmful effects. I submit that there are potential harmful effects of excessive use of electric leaf blowers as well, but it just, we're singling out the gas-powered as having harmful effects and nothing else. I mean, gas-powered lawnmowers have harmful effects if you use them excessively as well.
Yes, but this ordinance is only talking about leaf blowers, my friend.
Right.
Okay.
I agree. Again, I think I agree. I mean, we've had a gas-powered leaf blower probably for 20 years. Like electric leaf blower, that burns out, you need a new one. So now over time, you're accumulating more batteries. And so it's not cut and dry that the electric engine, if you're replacing it, there's waste. There's toxic things in batteries. So, I mean, if you have an educational outreach person, just leave it at that first sentence. And strike the second sentence. This includes information. That would be my suggestion.
I think that's a great suggestion.
I mean, I like leaving it in because I think it shows one of the basis for the restriction in the summer is that it provides logical reason as to why we are putting a restriction on use in the summer. And it is well documented, and we could put citations and sources. It's not an opinion. It's been documented by numerous medical boards, and this is fact.
Yeah, I would only say that I think that keeping it general and the first sentence with that it says including educational materials about the ordinance, and that might encompass all of that information. And so do we need to get this specific about what it has to include as far as a judgment on gas powered leaf blowers versus electric?
I would agree.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with striking it because I don't think it precludes the educational materials to include some reference to that. And like, that's the reason why we're doing this. But I don't know that we need to be that specific. What do you guys think?
Eric has something.
Oh, Eric, yeah.
Yeah, the very first paragraph, section 1, declaration of policy, is pretty clear why we're doing what we're doing. So I don't think we need to belabor the point here. And saying that the officer will provide outreach, I mean, that first sentence, I think, says it all.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think
Second
it's, I think
sentence
it's
is
sufficient.
it's unnecessary.
I think the first sentence is sufficient too. I don't have a problem striking that second sentence if everybody agrees. Christina, do you have thoughts? Sorry, don't mean to call, I'm sorry. That's
No.
total Socratic method going on here.
No, I'm fine. I agree.
I actually would keep it in. I do think it shows why we're passing the ordinance, but quite frankly, it's if we do strike it, I think people will, I think it's okay, but I do think it makes a stronger ordinance by keeping it in and saying, gas powered, there's a lot of toxicity in gas powered, and you should really wear a mask if you're going to use one kind of thing. But if it does sort of but I hear what everyone else is saying. It's fine, but I do think it makes a stronger statement.
I mean, you could soften it by taking out harmful and excessive. This includes information about the effects of gas powered leaf blower use. That would be a compromise. That would be less judgmental, in my opinion. But I do agree with Mike that it gives the rationale, and some people might be really interested. I mean, they'd be like, why did the town, some people might not know, why did the town do this? What's the reason behind this?
Well, they'll get that information. I mean, I read it, I'm like, someone who has back problems will not see the benefit of rakes. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of it's kind of
Yeah.
leading.
Yeah. no, I hear you.
And the declaration of policy states very clearly why the town council is issuing the ordinance. And if the designated officer is going to provide educational materials about this ordinance, clearly he or she would include references to harmful effects of overuse.
I think the declaration of policy is just a general statement of what we are, what our duty is to the resident. I don't think that specifically gives information about gas powered leaf blowers. It doesn't say anything in there about any data or anything like that. That just gives the general template for why we even make ordinances. So I think it's helpful to educate the residents.
Which
And
is
they
why we have the
share it with
designated
their-
officer providing
I was speaking,
educational
Eric.
materials.
Eric, I was speaking.
I'm sorry, I
They
thought you had
might-
stopped.
They
I
might
thought you had
educate.
stopped.
They might pass it on to their landscapers. So
Have you
I don't see
stopped
the harm in
speaking
it.
now?
Yeah. I have.
Which is why we have the designated officer providing educational materials. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
And if you feel strongly about it.
We can move on. I'm sorry, we can move
like,
on.
It should be brought up. It should be brought up next time or,
Okay.
So make a note too.
Are you gonna
And I'll
delete it?
have all, I mean, I might,
Okay.
I might.
Because I'd like to take a vote on it if we're going to delete it. Like I said, we're just going to kind of talk around it, I take out harmful, excessive. Otherwise, I think we should take a vote on it because I don't want that whole line to go. I mean, we've been talking about things and we all have different opinions, and this is no different than section 3, you know, I mean, like,
I mean, I'm sort of agnostic about it, so it's hard, you know. I feel like we are so living in this
Yeah.
that we sort of understand the point behind it. And I'm trying to put myself in the headspace of somebody who hasn't been necessarily following along, is just gonna find out that we've, that we're considering this ordinance.
I think it's easier to delete it with the whole town council weighing in rather than deleting it now, because we have people that aren't here. We're about half and half on it. So
why don't
I say leave it in, make an error if you want to, it's leaving it in, then we can always delete it or change it.
I will italicize it.
Oh, that sounds good.
I mean, I feel like it's really selling rakes and electric leaf blower, like
I would
it's
take that
selling
bit
them.
Yeah, we
out.
can take that out.
I would take that
We
bit
can
out.
say the benefits of alternative methods
Alternative methods.
for
would
yard
be-
maintenance.
I mean,
in the summer.
we may find out that electric leaf blowers aren't healthy either. So I think the idea is to provide outreach and educational materials about this ordinance without taking a position on what we're going to promote.
Yep.
You mean we're not promoting rakes?
Kim, you're going to come.
What are the
rake my
harmful
acres.
effects of, I'm going to Maria's house this summer and I'm going to be raking.
You all heard that.
I like to rake.
I do
It's good
not.
for your core.
And so can we move on? Well, why don't we strike that? Why don't I italicize that sentence? And I'm gonna strike the such as phrase.
Okay.
Is that does that sound like a good compromise? And then it'll be clear that that's definitely something we want to discuss further. So the only other edit we had, severability. This is severability is a typical, boilerplate language. And the effective date,
You want to do it?
I had
first?
put for May 25th, 2026. I just want to check the calendar on that.
I'll check it.
Okay.
Hillary, do we have the severability on any other ordinance? Is this a first?
Almost every other ordinance, I think. It's a boilerplate language, like basically that says if the Supreme Court finds that ban it, restricting the use of electric leaf blowers to some time frame is unconstitutional, then that offensive piece would get stricken from the ordinance.
I agree with it. It's not that. I just don't remember seeing this in any other ordinance, and I think it should be in all ordinances.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have. I've seen it in most laws and statutes that I've ever looked at, so included it here.
According to my calendar, May 25th is Memorial Day for 2026.
Oh, great.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Does anybody mind if I read this statement from Jennifer Zonis?
No.
It's
go
not,
ahead.
and we're not voting now. Since I'm unable to attend, this is Jennifer Zonis, who's a member of Bylaws and Ordinances and a town council member. Since I am unable to attend tonight's meeting, I wanted to confirm I've read through the draft and feel comfortable with the language. I would like to convey to the committee that I think this is broad enough to find approval with many of our constituents. It is in line with many of our peer towns and provides flexibility for homeowners who want to clear some leaves and debris from pathways and recreation areas. It is not too onerous. We should not get hung up on the complete feasibility of enforcement. As Robin Bates Mason has told me on numerous occasions, just by getting an ordinance on the books, you ensure buy-in from at least 30% of the community. This was her experience with the plastic bag ban. 30% buy-in is a big improvement and shows constituents we hear them and are trying to make positive changes. In time, more citizens will get comfortable with the new law and will adapt the new technology as the electric equipment gets better and cheaper. I think we should hone in on getting this passed as soon as possible so we have ample time to do the communications work. We should recruit the Conservation Commission to help us with publicizing any ordinance we pass. And again, now I'm editorializing, but we can figure that out later. Thanks for your hard work on this. And again, I'm sorry I can't be at tonight's meeting. Best, Jennifer. Is everyone comfortable with me making some edits? And do we want to meet as a committee again before we decide? Maybe we have one more meeting and go over it again. And if we want to escalate it up, then we take a vote at that meeting.
Is there a way to get the language in front of the public as a committee and have a public session, give people an opportunity to come to the committee after they've read it?
That's a question for us as a group, if we're comfortable with that. I think that there's a concern, and a valid one, that it looks as if that's the final ordinance that we would be proposing. So I'm hesitant to post it like as part of the agenda, just because I think it's still in draft form. It's just in committee. But I hear that I'm torn.
Like, what if we gave Michael Dinan bullet points? This is what's being considered. We're having a committee meeting if you're interested, and invite the public, just in the media that we have available to us, instead of just them finding it on the town calendar.
Yeah, I mean, I think this meeting that we've had the discussion, it's open to the public. And if Mike wanted to do an article, we could suggest maybe he does an article. But I think if we have another meeting and we put public comment on it, and anyone watches this meeting, I think it's very clear what, the points of contention are and what they are. But I understand not publishing it in draft form because it hasn't even been voted on by the whole town council. So I am hesitant.
Or by the committee.
Or the committee. I'm hesitant to put it out there because it's a work in progress, not as a way to block information, but as a way not to, put something out there that could be misconstrued as final.
I feel that too.
Well said.
It's stirring the pot when we're not
Right.
ready.
We're not there yet.
Christina?
I'm just wondering if the purpose is to put it out there for the public to hear about it and invite them to come in and speak about it, why don't we just have a public hearing and notice it as a public hearing?
Yeah, and we will definitely have to, we have to under the law if the town council decides to consider it. I don't know if our subcommittee can do that. That's something I would have to look at, and whether we'd want to have, instead of just having a regular meeting and public comment, whether we'd want to have a public hearing where you have to publish. I think in that case, we would have to publish the draft.
Right.
If it's a public hearing.
Yeah,
And I just don't know that it's baked yet enough for that.
What if we just put public comment on the bylaws and ordinances meeting, and everyone can, if Mike does an article about it, we could set a date and we could tell, constituents and neighbors and friends to show up and discuss it. I mean, because
couldn't we write it and submit it as a press release? Or I don't know, can we do that? Just say this is what's being considered. If you're interested, we have our next scheduled meeting is on this date, and
I mean,
the public is always welcome.
Yeah, I mean, the first selectman has a newsletter, the Health and Human Services has a newsletter. I mean, it can be pushed out that way as well as through the media.
We have no idea. Look, this is turning into more of a, not argument, there's more in this issue than you think there's going to be. And there's no way that we know this is even going to get through town council. So why get the community involved and bring them in before we have anything really solid to show them? And if we know that it's going to go to them, this might die in committee.
But tonight we had public comment. So, and I think if people had known that was, permitted, maybe, I mean, I don't see the harm in putting public comment on, and because it's already out in the public, sphere. This is all public information because we've had a discussion. But publishing it is different because it makes it look like it's final.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the reluctance would be to bring in the public at this point, because, I think.
They could always come either way,
But to get up and speak is different. They would prepare
Yeah,
comments,
yeah.
they could watch the meeting, talk to other people, know what's on the table, what the arguments are, so I see that as a compromise, but I don't think that we can have a public hearing on something
Right.
that
That's
is not final or that hasn't been voted on, even by our own committee.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be framed as like, this may or may not come out of this committee. And so if you're interested in being part of that discussion, that's where we're at, right? We don't know if we're voting it out of committee.
Right.
Eric?
Surprising as this may be, I'm in agreement with my colleague, Kim Norton.
You guys are.
Although we may disagree on the substance of everything we're doing here with respect to this particular ordinance, but I am in complete agreement that we do not need to publish anything in the way of a draft or here are the bullet points we're thinking about. I think if we want to have another public hearing on gas-powered leaf blowers, then we'll have another public hearing, but it's far too premature to issue anything in writing or even provide an interview to a local weblog or newspaper as to here are the bullet points we're thinking about.
I think, yeah, I think that's fair. So why don't I circle back with the town to find available times and dates. Do evenings are best, I would assume,
Mhm.
and I think that that's probably the best time for public to attend a meeting if they want to. I'll make sure that the agenda reflects that we will have public comment. Absolutely. And I apologize that wasn't on
Well, that's okay.
this draft agenda.
School vacation's coming up, so I just want to,
Yeah.
it's from February 13th to like the 21st, and February is a short month, so if you don't mind, I won't be here during that time, so, yeah.
And I will be cognizant of all school vacations as I have children in two different
Right.
systems.
Yes.
So we have a lot of vacations, but I can always zoom in
Mhm.
if sometime when I'm gone in March, like we'll figure it out. Yes, Eric.
Yeah, you asked me to suggest language for section 3A. Do you still want me to do that? If so, I will need the Word version of this document because I can't do that in a PDF.
You can't? Come on, Eric.
No, I can't take a PDF and accept changes. What I would propose to do is take
I'm being
the Word
sarcastic.
version. Yeah. Accept all the red line changes and then make my changes so that you can see what I would suggest.
Okay, and if we do that, there should not be back and forth because
Yeah.
then that's like a
Yeah.
meeting.
Right.
Can't you just write, instead of changing this document, can't you just say strike this and add this rather than actually have different drafts circulating?
Well, I've said exactly what I've meant to say in the last 2 hours.
I know, but it's just for, you know,
Okay, so yeah,
just to make it clear that we have his comments incorporated,
yeah.
but rather than having two draft versions around.
Eric, how do you feel about if we split the third, which we had talked about, splitting the third bullet? And what if we struck on hard surfaces for the single use residential exception?
What do you mean, what if we did that? What are you asking me?
I'm asking if that's an edit that you would want.
Those are two edits that I would want, yes. The main edits that I would want have to do with section 3, paragraph A.
You want to strike AI?
I want to
I see.
replace A 2I. I want to
Right.
replace the word electric there with gas powered, and then I want to strike A 1I.
Right, so that's
So
what
I
I
don't-
said. You
I
want to strike A1.
Hold on. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Is there? I think that that's on the record and that has
Yeah,
been made clear.
right.
Is there support this committee to make that edit?
Sorry, but not from me. And I do want to leave in hard surfaces because I think that is specifically made for people to do trampolines, decks, walkways. So I want to leave that in. But no, I support the ordinance as written right now.
I would just point out that a trampoline is not a hard surface.
Well, that's why I've rethought that and I'm saying, let's strike it. I mean, look, I don't want to create a situation
How
either where
about
neighbors are like,
man-made?
you're not blowing your driveway, you're blowing your yard. I mean, I don't want to be too strict with residential homeowners that are using single use. So
Though, you guys, it's more than it's a wiggle room for all the landscapers. They're just, what they do at the end before they leave your property is they go around to your terraces and your front walks and they blow it. And they're hard surfaces. So they're going to fire up the gas thing, blow those things and then leave. So just so you know that.
that's fine if they're just using one.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. As long as you're okay.
It's what I think what we're trying to reduce here is the cacophony of several going at one time for a long time. And if I'm not gonna like, I would not call on my neighbor if I know it's not my neighbor, but it's their landscaper using one to clear the sidewalk or the walk. I hope nobody would, right?
Well, I
So-
think we'd have to change that. I mean, I think it's good that it says by residents. Because it
Question.
gives individual residents who can't do their lawn, they work full time, or they want to go out and I actually think that's really important that it's not landscapers that are using gas powered leaf blowers. Why do we have AI, meaning section 3A and AI2? So I think it is important distinction. And I like the hard services. I mean, if you want to say man-made services, if you want to include trampolines or however, I mean, I don't have a trampoline, but I think it really refers more to walkways and decks and things like that.
Again, let's not let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yep.
There's gonna be people who call on every use of every leaf blower in the summer, and there will be people who will ignore 6 being used in violation of that, but I take all these edits and so how about for next steps, I will talk to Pam in the first selectman's office about times and dates for another meeting. We should probably do it soon before we get too wrapped up in budget, I would assume.
Are you
Yes?
hoping to do this in February's town council meeting?
I don't know. I mean,
Okay. Just-
yeah,
Mhm.
I think, I don't know.
Can I suggest we do have a public hearing on February 9th? It's 7:30. I don't know how early things may be starting on that night, but that might be a good night to try to get all 8 committee members here. That's just a suggestion. And then we don't meet until the end of February for town council, so it's like February 25th. Then, because if you go the next week, then we get into school vacation and whatever.
Let me see if anything's available, and maybe it's by Zoom. I have to make sure I could notice that meeting in a timely way, because it's already Thursday, so that would be, February 9th is what, Wednesday?
No,
Uh,
the week after.
No, it's the week after. So next week is February 2nd through the 6th.
Oh, so
The
there's plenty of
following
time.
week,
Never mind.
February 9th is a Monday,
Yes, sorry.
and
have no idea
it's
what
about 10 days away, right? So
That's-
it's
That's a
actually-
special Playhouse meeting.
Yes, I understand that, but
Saying
it's not
before.
until 7:30. So if we met at, I don't know if we're meeting earlier, but if we met at 6 o'clock for town council, we could do this at 5 and get our rakes. No, I'm only kidding. Meet at 5 and then come back for whatever. But I'm just suggesting it would be good to get all 8 here if we could.
Hillary, if I may,
Yeah.
I think we should aim to have this wrapped up and presented for a vote at the town council meeting in February. Because if we delay it, we're into the budget in March and April, and
Yeah.
then May is right around the corner.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we either do it now or we're missing the season.
Fair point by
Yeah.
both of you. All right, so why don't I incorporate some edits that I think we have general agreement on, and this conversation will continue. I'll check on availability. Eric, are you available on the 9th earlier than the special meeting?
I might be.
That's a Monday.
That's a
It's
Monday.
Monday. Would that work for you?
It's our board event.
I'll check.
Yeah.
I'll double check.
Yeah, I am available before that. I'm really hopeful that the next meeting is not a 2-hour one. I think everybody's
Yeah.
positions are pretty well known.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's right. And I think to the extent there remains some disagreement about language or what we're doing, it's, there's a couple more bites of the apple with town council.
The only thing I want to add, though, is if we do say public comment, we do have to, assume that there'll be people commenting. So I don't think it's going to be, I don't know how quick it's going to be, but we have to factor that in, right? So it's not just us talking, it's us listening to the public who have heard this discussion and
Yeah.
want to give their opinions.
Eric?
Yeah, I don't think we want to have a public hearing on the 9th about this issue the same night there's going to be a public hearing about the Playhouse. I just think that's too confusing for people, and it's too much to ask people
It's
to
not a
do.
public hearing. It's just, we're just putting on the agenda public comment. It's not a public hearing. We're not having a public hearing until, if we passed an ordinance, there would have to be a public hearing, right? But this is not a public hearing. This just adds to the agenda, public comment. It's different than a public hearing. It just
That's
signals to the public. Then they look on the calendar. If they want to come in and speak to us, we're going to give each person 3 minutes to speak. That's what we're talking about.
yeah, and if you have 50
Oh.
people show up, that's 2.5 hours.
Well, that's what we're here
think we
for.
gotta be-
That's why we get
Yeah.
elected, right? To listen to the public.
No, I can't do
Yeah.
that. I can't do two public hearings or two public comment and then into a public hearing. I think that's too rushed. And what if they're not done? And then we're pulled to
Yeah, that's gonna be-
then we're gonna need to set up another meeting anyhow.
Can we do this at the coffee, the New Canaanite Coffee?
No, it has to be a notice.
Yeah.
I just looked up the Board of Ed meetings. They're February 2nd and February 23rd. So February 9th does not, I'm not stuck on that date. I was just suggesting it, but there's no, yeah.
Let's see, I'm looking at that week.
Well, let's make sure we have something, sometimes even the Zoom links get taken and there aren't Zoom links available for times that we're talking about now. So let me see what's available in the next couple of weeks
I mean,
before
maybe
the
you
break.
could- Maybe you could, there are meetings that hold next week,
Mhm.
7:00. We could book 5 o'clocks and say if we run over,
Yeah.
well, you've already set up the date for the next one, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. I'll ask. Okay, good idea.
And then if we don't need it, we don't need it.
Hopefully we won't need it. Come on, guys. Any further comments or suggestions? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Oh.
adjourn.
Ladies, okay. Second, all right, Kim is moving to adjourn. Maria seconds, all in favor? Oh, look, we all agree. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah, you gotta
you.
Run over.
Let me,
Run over where?
To hit,
Oh.
stop recording.
thanks, Christina.